Hi, have you got a CR-X, love the printer, but would like a little bit more functionality, such as BL Touch or filament sensors, etc., but haven't quite figured out how to change the firmware in the printer, particularly with the touchscreen? That makes a bit more of an issue, that we just can't take standard Marlin and just put it onto our printer without either changing the screen or changing the firmware in the screen. Hopefully this video will clear a few little things up for you. What we're going to need for this video is the CR-X, an SD card. This one's an 8GB card. It came with the printer. Smaller is better, and I'm using a Mac. Buckle up and enjoy. Okay, so let's start loading some of the software we need. So from Google, let's type in VS Code, and that should take us, will give us a selection of code to visualstudio.com. That's the one we want. So let's go to that page, and we see the page with the download instructions. We'll click on that. In my particular instance, I've got a Mac and I know it's an Intel chip, so I'll select that, and that will start our download. Okay, once that's done, we'll open up Finder and we'll have a look at applications. We want to drag the downloaded Visual Studio Code program into applications, and then we'll open it up and run it. It'll say verifying since it's the new load, and once it fires up, it'll give the security. We'll just say open, and that will load Visual Studio Code for us. Here it is. I've already had it open, so it's got some stuff that we're going to need to load, but we'll just run you through it anyway. On the left hand side is the project or the folder that we've got open. We'll go through that in a minute. And if we click on this one, this is the extensions that we need to load. So there's a couple we need. One of them is called Platform IO. I've already got it loaded. We can see on the left hand side that little bug's face, but if we type in the top Platform IO, it will give us the selection, and if we select that, there will be an install button around here. Once that's installed, we get the little bug icon here. The next one we need is Auto Build Marlin, so we'll type Auto Build Marlin, that, and once that's selected, we get an install button there. We'll click on that. That'll install Marlin, and once it's installed, we'll get this Marlin icon on the left-hand side here. Let's go back to Google now. We're going to load the actual code that we need. So we're going to go to github.com/Insanity Automation. It's automatically populating for me because I've been there. Here we are in Insanity Automation, and we want Marlin. So we'll click on that, and this will take us to this page. This icon here, we don't want the bug fix. So if we select the down arrow, and we'll scroll down to Creality DWin 2.0. And this is the code we need. If we scroll down the page, we can see that it's for touchscreens, and the CR-X and Pro version is supported. We'll scroll further down. There's some more information we need a little later on. It's this information here. It's just a decode for some abbreviations. So this is important information that we'll need a little bit later on that just helps us select the correct file to build. So if we scroll back up the page now, and we'll download the code. So if we click on the code button and download the zip, and that will get the code downloading for us. While that's downloading, I'm just going to scroll back down the page to that piece of information, and I'll leave this on the screen so we can come back to it to reference it later on. Okay, now it's downloaded. We can see in our downloads folder, we've got this Marlin Creality DWin 2. I'm just going to drag that into a better location for me, which I prefer it in Documents. We'll just grab that and drag it down into Documents. I've already done it before, so I'm just going to replace it. So it's just so you can see that I've done it. Now I'm just going to jump across to the space that had Visual Studio Code running again. Here it is. And if we go up to File and Open Folder, select that. And we'll go into Documents, find our Marlin Creality DWin 2. We can see that beneath it we've got build root, config, etc. We'll select that That'll now open up in Visual Studio Code. And if we go ahead and select the hex files, we can actually see all the different printers that are supported in the different options. The developers have done a great job of this. If we select Platform I/O now, that will show us all the project tasks. We'll just close some of these windows up here just so we don't confuse the issue. And from the project tasks, we can scroll down and we can see there's some CR-X tasks here and lots of different options. BL Touch, this is the one I want, no filament sensor, and it's got nothing else. You can see from our abbreviation checklist here that filament is the filament runout sensor, or fill is the filament runout sensor. So I want no fill because I don't have any sensors. I run mine through Occupy. So again, this is how we decode what these things mean in this page here on the GitHub screen.
Okay, so now it's time to format this little guy. It's got specific formatting, otherwise we won't be able to update our screen firmware. On the Mac, it's a little bit trickier than normal. We just can't do it through the GUI or it won't work. It needs to be MS-DOS FAT with 4K blocks. Let's run through it.
Okay, we go to Applications, select Utilities, and we go to Disk Util. We'll select that. When that opens up, we'll see our untitled SD card, MS-DOS FAT32. It's already formatted, but it might not be correct. So we click Unmount. When it's unmounted, we'll see that mount is there, so we'll leave it unmounted. And now we go back and into our utils, and we open up Terminal. From the terminal, we type disk util list, and once it's listed, down the bottom we'll see our SD card. Mine is disk 4. Yours will probably be different, but mine's disk 4. We need to remember that. Now from here we start the format command and we type in sudo new fs underscore ms-dos dash big F 32 dash lowercase c8 lowercase v tm3d dash dev, and we want disk 4 in my case. Hit enter on that. We have to put in our login password. It's the login for your computer. Type in the login password and there it is, it's done it. That's what it'll look like when it's completed. Okay, we've closed terminal, we're back in Finder and we need to find this file here, tm3d with the .7z at the end of it. It's in our Marlin dwin folder, but that one there is the one that we need to update our screen. There are other screens there, but this is the one we want for our CR-X. That'll open up that directory, and this dwin set is what we need to drag into our SD card. So we drag that across into our SD card, which was labeled TM3D. You might have had to reinsert it in order for it to show on the menu here. We can now eject the card and pop it into our printer. Let's go.
Right, so here we are with the printer. I've taken it out of its enclosure and I've just put it on my workbench. And we're all set to go. So obviously we've got to take the bottom off first so we can get in towards the screen. The standard CR-X touchscreen. And that's where the SD card goes in order to program that. So let's take the bottom off. So here it is on its side, and we can see we've got around the edge here about 12 screws or so to take out. So I'll just get them out and we'll look to see where we program it. Okay, so here it is. I've taken the 12 screws out and the panel comes off. There's nothing on the back of the panel. It's just a sheet of something. So that just comes straight off, no problem at all with that. This is the touchscreen module, and the SD card slot goes in here, which we're going to need for programming it. And then your main board is down here. And just so we can see what type of model it is, we can hopefully see in here. If I zoom in, see it says here V2.2. So that's the version 2.2 of the motherboard. Be looking here and then try and zoom in on the processor itself. We'll see it's an Atmel, a bit hard to see. See if I can get some light on it. There's a little bit of light, and no, it's not helping, is it? Okay, if we have a look right in here, I'll zoom in. That's better. Atmel AT Mega 2560. So that's the main processor of it, and it's an 8-bit microprocessor. So this is an 8-bit board. This is where it goes, the card that is. And so I'm going to pop that in here and push it down. It's just a push it out, push it in, it comes out, push it in, it clips in. So that's now clipped in, and in theory we should power that on and it should update the software in just the screen. So for now I'll just quickly turn it off and I'll show you what we've got to start with. Okay, so here we go, we've got the standard software running with the standard firmware in the screen, and we know that if we touch the right hand button on the front screen we go into that one, and if I touch the bottom right we're going to get printer info, and that's what we get. So the screen is communicating with the motherboard obviously and telling the motherboard that you've touched this bottom right hand side, and so it knows to give you the printer info. After we've updated it, if we don't update the firmware in the motherboard, then obviously the communication is going to be a little bit different because some of these buttons are going to have a different layout. So we need to do both things. So we're going to do this bit first, and fingers crossed because I've never done it before, so let's hope it all works out as planned. So here we are upside down again, power's turned off. I've got the SD card with the D1 set on there, and I'm just going to insert that, and then we'll tip it up and turn it on, and that hopefully will update it. Okay, so we're all set up, it's powered off, the SD card's in, and here we go pairing it up. And loading the files, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So now it says it's complete. So that's it. So we can turn it back off again and take the SD card out. So now if we power it up, even though we haven't updated the firmware, we should get a new screen. So here it is. So it's certainly a new startup screen. Thanks to these guys for doing this for us. Version hasn't changed. Not expecting that to change because we haven't done anything with that yet. This looks a little bit different. Print, SD card refresh, that works. Temperatures, all looks like we can change these things. Settings, see we've got tools now which we didn't have before. We can tap on it. It's not going to do anything. Well, it's not going to work correctly because we haven't updated the software. And the printer info, this is exactly the same. So now we have the new setup on the LCD, we can go ahead and update the firmware in the printer. Okay, so we've got VS Code running on the Mac. Sorry about the reflection there. And we need to plug the USB cord into the printer. So we plug that in.
And now go back to Visual Studio Code. From the File menu, we go down to Open Folder, and we find our file with the Creality D1 again. So we'll scroll down here in Documents where we had it before, and here it is, Marlin Creality D1 2, and that's the folder we want to open as the upper folder. Select that, and that'll open up in the Explorer window. We need to wait until it has finished doing some work and opening up Platform IO. We see down the bottom here it says checking Platform IO core installation. It'll do that. Once the icon's popped up, and it has now, we can select it. Now we scroll down in the Project Tasks window to find the project we need. I'm using CR-X no fill. We can click the down arrow, and then we'll see it's loading the task. When that's done, we get these options. I'm going to click on Upload, and that will start the upload task. First of all, it'll build it. So that'll take a little while. It does take some time to build it. I'll just speed things up here for you. I wish it was always this fast. Once it's down to linking, it's nearly there, and then it'll go off and read what's on the board, and then we'll start writing to the flash memory. So it's doing that. That's exactly what we want to see. Once it's finished writing, it'll read back what it's written to flash memory in order to verify it. Once that's complete, it will report success. That's exactly what we're after. Fantastic. Now to finish up, we just need to set the EEPROM values so they match. If we go up here into monitor, it will connect with the printer, and we can see it's connecting, and it'll just say wait because it's waiting for a process. And we can actually type in here M502. It's a bit weird, but that does a factory reset as it shows you there. And then we can type M500. That'll save it to EEPROM, and we're all set to try out the printer.
Okay, so let's restart it now that we've loaded that software in. We can see we've got what we'd expect there, CR-X ready. So everything is working as you'd expect with the new software. And if I push printer info, there it is there, Tiny Machines 3D CR-X with the firmware version of 2.09. Fantastic.
I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it's of some use. Happy printing.